The billionaire CEO fell in love with a girl who hated him. The girl who slapped the billionaire. The ballroom glittered with crystal chandeliers. Luxury cars lined the entrance. The city's richest people gathered inside the Grand Royal Hotel for the annual King Corporation Charity Gala. Everyone was waiting for one man, Ethan King. At just 32 years old, he had built one of the largest technology empires in the country. Business magazines called him the Ice King because he never smiled, never trusted anyone, and never let emotions interfere with business. As a convoy of black luxury SUVs stopped outside the hotel, reporters rushed forward. "Cameras ready! Ethan King is here!" The car door slowly opened. Ethan stepped out in a perfectly tailored black suit. His confident walk and calm expression immediately attracted hundreds of cameras. Flashes lit up the night. Inside the hotel, a young woman carrying a tray of drinks hurried through the crowded ballroom. Her name was Sophia Parker. Unlike the wealthy guests around her, Sophia worked 2 part-time jobs to support her sick mother and pay her younger brother's college tuition. Tonight, she was working as a temporary waitress. She had only one goal: finish her shift, get paid, go home. She wanted nothing to do with billionaires. In her experience, rich people cared only about power and money, especially one billionaire, Ethan King. She had never met him, but she hated him. 3 years earlier, King Corporation had purchased the small factory where her father worked. A few months later, the factory closed. Hundreds of workers lost their jobs. Her father never recovered from the stress. He passed away after suffering a heart attack. Ever since then, Sophia believed Ethan King had destroyed her family. She had promised herself, "If I ever meet Ethan King, I'll tell him exactly what I think." She never imagined that day would come so soon. The host stepped onto the stage. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Ethan King." Thunderous applause filled the ballroom. Sophia looked toward the stage. There he was, the man she had blamed for years, standing proudly before hundreds of wealthy guests. She clenched her fists. He doesn't deserve any of this. As Ethan walked through the crowd, one careless guest bumped into Sophia. The tray slipped from her hands. Several glasses crashed onto the floor. Red juice splashed across Ethan's expensive suit. The entire ballroom fell silent. Every eye turned toward Sophia. The hotel manager rushed over. "I'm so sorry, Mr. King." He turned angrily toward Sophia. "You're fired." Sophia looked down. Before she could speak, Ethan calmly said, "It was an accident." The manager froze. "But sir," I said, "it was an accident." Sophia looked at him in surprise. For a brief moment, he didn't seem like the cruel billionaire she had imagined. Then another guest whispered loudly, "People like her don't belong here." The words ignited Sophia's anger. She looked directly at Ethan. "This is exactly the problem." The room became silent again. She continued, "People lose their jobs while billionaires become richer. My father worked his whole life, and companies like yours destroyed families like mine." Everyone gasped. Nobody had ever spoken to Ethan King like that. Ethan looked at her quietly. "What is your name?" "Sophia Parker." He recognized it immediately. Parker. The surname sounded familiar. Before he could respond, Sophia's emotions exploded. Without thinking, she raised her hand. Slap! The sound echoed throughout the ballroom. Sophia had just slapped the most powerful businessman in the city. Security guards rushed forward. "Arrest her!" But Ethan raised his hand. "Stop!" The guards froze. The guests couldn't believe what they were seeing. Instead of getting angry, Ethan looked into Sophia's tear-filled eyes. Then he asked a question no one expected. "Tell me, what did I do to your family?" Sophia stared at him. She had expected arrogance. She had expected threats. Instead, she saw confusion. Real confusion. Could it be that Ethan King didn't even know what had happened? At that exact moment, Ethan's personal assistant hurried toward him with a confidential file. "Sir, you need to see this immediately." Ethan opened the file. His expression changed instantly. He slowly looked back at Sophia. Then he whispered, "Oh my God, what have they been hiding from me?" The truth behind the clothes factory. Sophia's heart was still pounding. The ballroom remained silent after the slap. Everyone expected Ethan King to call the police. Instead, he stared at the confidential file in his hands. His face had turned pale. He slowly looked back at Sophia. Miss Parker, I think someone has been lying to both of us. The crowd exchanged confused looks. Sophia folded her arms. I don't believe a single word you say. Ethan nodded. I wouldn't either. But if you're willing to give me 1 hour, I'll show you the truth. Sophia laughed bitterly. The truth? The truth is that my father died because of your company. My family lost everything. And now you want me to trust you? Ethan didn't answer immediately. Instead, he handed the confidential file to her. Read the first page. A shocking discovery. Sophia opened the file. It contained documents from 3 years ago. The factory where her father had worked had indeed been purchased by King Corporation. But another document caught her attention. The factory was never supposed to close. She frowned. What is this? Ethan replied quietly. I approved a modernization project. My plan was to renovate the factory, protect every employee, and increase salaries. Sophia looked at him in disbelief. Then why did everyone lose their jobs? Ethan turned to his assistant. Bring Mr. Harrison. A few minutes later, an elderly man entered the ballroom. He was the former operations director of King Corporation. The moment he saw Ethan, he became nervous. Mr. King. Ethan's voice was cold. Tell everyone what happened. The old man lowered his head. I signed the closure order. Sophia's eyes widened. You? Mr. Harrison nodded. I accepted money from another company. They wanted the land. So I forged your signature, Mr. King. I made it look like the order came from you. The ballroom fell silent. Sophia couldn't breathe. For 3 years, she had blamed the wrong person. An apology that couldn't heal the past. Ethan looked at Sophia. I didn't know. If I had, I would have stopped it. Sophia's eyes filled with tears. My father still died. My family still suffered. No document can change that. Ethan lowered his head. You're right. I can't erase your pain, but I can make sure justice is finally served. He turned toward security. Call the police. Mr. Harrison didn't resist. As officers led him away, he whispered, I'm sorry, but his apology came too late. An unexpected offer. The guests slowly left the ballroom. Only Ethan and Sophia remained. Ethan spoke first. I've spent years believing my company was helping people. Tonight I discovered someone used my name to destroy lives. Sophia remained silent. Then Ethan surprised her again. I want you to work for me. She stared at him. What? I need someone who isn't afraid to tell me the truth. Sophia laughed. Are you serious? You slapped me. And you're offering me a job? Ethan gave a faint smile. You're the first person who had the courage to. She shook her head. I don't belong in your world. You don't have to. I'll bring your world into mine. A family in crisis. That night, Sophia returned to the small apartment she shared with her mother and younger brother. Her mother was coughing badly. The doctor had already warned them. She needed surgery. Without it, her condition would continue to worsen. Sophia looked at the hospital bill on the table. The amount was impossible to pay. Her younger brother, Daniel, quietly asked, Did you get paid tonight? Sophia forced a smile. Yes. But inside, she felt hopeless. She remembered Ethan's offer. Working for him meant financial security. But could she work for the man she had hated for 3 years? A dangerous meeting. The next morning, Sophia received a phone call. It was Ethan's assistant. Mr. King would like to meet you. She almost refused, but something told her to go. When she arrived at King Corporation headquarters, she was amazed. The building was taller than anything she had ever seen. Marble floors, glass elevators, hundreds of employees. Everything looked perfect. Too perfect. Ethan welcomed her into his office. I won't force you to work here, but before you decide, I want to show you something. He led her to the rooftop. From there, the entire city stretched out below them. Ethan pointed toward the east side. See that neighborhood? Sophia nodded. I grew up there. She looked at him in shock. You? My father owned a small repair shop. We weren't rich. We built everything from nothing. For the first time, Sophia saw not a billionaire, but a man who had once struggled just like her. Maybe she had judged him too quickly. Meanwhile, across the city, inside a luxurious office, a mysterious man watched security footage of the charity gala. He smiled as he replayed the moment Sophia slapped Ethan. So, they finally met. He picked up his phone. Phase 1 is complete. It's time for Phase 2. On the desk beside him lay a photograph. It showed Ethan, Sophia, and someone had drawn a red X across Sophia's face. The game had just begun. A new beginning and a hidden enemy. The next morning, Sophia stood outside the towering headquarters of King Corporation. She looked up at the massive glass building and took a deep breath. "What am I doing here?" she whispered. She still didn't trust Ethan King, but she trusted one thing. Her mother needed surgery, and this job could save her family. After a few moments of hesitation, she walked inside. A different world. The receptionist greeted her politely. "Good morning, Miss Parker. Mr. King is expecting you." Sophia was surprised. Everyone already knew her name. As she entered the executive floor, employees whispered to one another, "That's the girl who slapped Mr. King. I heard she still got hired. Who is she?" Ignoring the whispers, Sophia stepped into Ethan's office. Ethan stood beside the large window overlooking the city. Without turning around, he said, "I knew you'd come." Sophia folded her arms. "I'm here for one reason. My family." Ethan nodded. "That's enough for me." An unusual job. Ethan handed her an employee ID card. "Your position isn't ordinary." Sophia looked confused. "What do you mean?" "I want you to work directly with me, as my executive assistant." Her eyes widened. "You're joking. I don't even have corporate experience." "I know. So why me?" Ethan looked at her seriously. "Because everyone here tells me what I want to hear. You'll tell me what I need to hear." For the first time, Sophia didn't know what to say. Jealous eyes. News of Sophia's new position spread throughout the company within hours. Not everyone was happy, especially Olivia Brooks, the company's senior operations manager. Olivia had worked beside Ethan for 6 years. She secretly loved him. She believed she would one day become Mrs. Ethan King. Now, a girl from an ordinary family had suddenly become Ethan's closest assistant. Olivia clenched her fists. "She doesn't belong here. I'll make sure she leaves." The first test. Later that afternoon, Ethan invited Sophia to an important board meeting. Some of the country's wealthiest investors were present. One executive looked at Sophia and frowned. "Mr. King, should an assistant really be sitting here?" Another added, "She's inexperienced." Ethan calmly replied, "Today, her opinion matters as much as mine." The room fell silent. Sophia felt every eye on her. Halfway through the meeting, the executives proposed shutting down another small factory to increase profits. Everyone agreed. Everyone. Except Sophia. She stood up. "If you close that factory, more than 400 families will lose their income." The room became quiet. One investor laughed. "This is business." Sophia answered confidently. "No, this is people's lives." Ethan watched her carefully. Then, he shocked everyone. "I agree with Miss Parker. The factory stays open." Several executives protested. "But we'll lose money." Ethan smiled slightly. "Sometimes the right decision is worth more than profit." Sophia looked at him. For the first time, she admired him. A mother's surgery. That evening, Sophia visited the hospital. Her mother's surgery had been scheduled. The doctor smiled. "Everything has been paid?" Sophia froze. "What?" "The full amount." She immediately knew who had done it. She rushed back to Ethan's office. "You paid the hospital bill." Ethan looked up from his laptop. "It wasn't charity. It was an advance on your salary. You didn't have to do that." "I wanted to." Sophia's eyes became moist. "No one has ever helped us like this." Ethan smiled gently. "You've spent years taking care of everyone else. It's okay to let someone help you." For a brief moment, their eyes met. Neither of them looked away. Someone was watching. Outside the hospital, a man wearing a black cap took several photographs. Click, click, click. He immediately sent them to an unknown number. A message appeared on the screen. "She's getting closer to Ethan." A reply came seconds later. "Good. That makes her easier to destroy." The night attack. Late that night, Sophia stayed at the office to finish some reports. By the time she left, the parking garage was almost empty. As she walked toward her car, she heard footsteps behind her. She turned around. No one. She continued walking. The footsteps returned. Faster this time. Suddenly, 3 masked men stepped out from the shadows. One of them grabbed her arm. "Come with us." Sophia struggled. "Let me go." Her scream echoed through the parking garage, just as one of the men tried to drag her away. A powerful voice thundered through the darkness. "Take your hands off her." The men turned. Ethan King stood a few meters away. His face was calm, but his eyes burned with anger. One of the attackers laughed. "This isn't your fight." Ethan took another step forward. "It became my fight. The moment you touched her." The attackers rushed toward him. The fight had begun. The man who risked everything. The underground parking garage echoed with heavy footsteps. 3 masked men surrounded Ethan King. Sophia's heart pounded. "Mr. King, don't." The tallest attacker smirked. "You should have stayed out of this." Ethan calmly removed a suit jacket and handed it to Sophia. "Stand behind me." She grabbed his arm. "There are 3 of them." Ethan looked at her without fear. "Then I'll deal with 3. Before anyone could react, one attacker charged forward. Ethan dodged the punch and pushed him into a parked car. The second man swung a metal rod. Ethan barely avoided it. The rod shattered a car window. Glass flew everywhere. Sophia screamed, "Ethan!" The third attacker grabbed Sophia from behind. She struggled desperately. "Let me go." The man pulled out a knife. "One more step, and she gets hurt." Everything became silent. Ethan slowly raised his hands. "Let her go." The attacker laughed. "Throw away your phone." Ethan did. "Your watch." He threw it aside. "Now kneel." Sophia shook her head. "No, don't do it." Without hesitation, the billionaire CEO knelt on the cold concrete floor. The attackers laughed. "So the great Ethan King can kneel after all." Sophia's eyes filled with tears. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. A man who ruled billion-dollar companies was humiliating himself. To save her, the sirens. Just as the attackers prepared to leave with Sophia, police sirens echoed through the parking garage. Red and blue lights flashed everywhere. The attackers panicked. "Run!" 2 escaped through the emergency exit. The third was caught by the police. Sophia immediately ran to Ethan. "Are you hurt?" He smiled faintly. "I'm fine." But as he stood up, he lost his balance. Blood was running down his arm. Sophia gasped. "You're bleeding." "It looks worse than it is." "You need a doctor." "It's only a scratch." She looked at him angrily. "You always pretend you're okay." For the first time, Ethan laughed. "I guess I do." The hospital. An hour later, the doctor finished treating Ethan's injury. "It isn't serious, but you need to rest." The doctor left. The room became quiet. Sophia looked down. "I'm sorry." Ethan frowned. "For what?" "You got hurt because of me." He shook his head. "No, I got hurt protecting someone important." Sophia looked up. "Important?" Ethan realized what he had said. He quickly looked away. "I mean, an important employee." Sophia smiled softly. She knew he was hiding something, a name from the past. Meanwhile, the police questioned the captured attacker. The detective placed several photographs on the table. "Who hired you?" The man remained silent. The detective sighed, then placed another photograph in front of him. A middle-aged businessman. The attacker's expression changed instantly. The detective noticed. "So, you know him." Hours later, the detective called Ethan. "We've identified the person behind the attack. His name is Richard Hale." Ethan's face became cold. Richard Hale, his former business partner. 5 years earlier, Richard had been fired from King Corporation for stealing millions of dollars. Before leaving, he had made one promise. "You'll regret destroying my career." Ethan never imagined. Richard had spent 5 years planning his revenge. Sophia learns the truth. The next day, Sophia accidentally overheard Ethan talking to the detective. This attack wasn't random. They were after her. After the call ended, Sophia entered his office. "You knew." Ethan nodded. "I suspected someone would come after me, but I never thought they'd target you." Sophia folded her arms. "So this is my fault?" "No, it's mine. If you stay close to me, you'll always be in danger." For the first time, Ethan considered something painful. Maybe the safest way to protect Sophia was to push her away. The goodbye. That evening, Ethan called Sophia into his office. His expression was colder than usual. "I've made a decision." Sophia looked confused. What decision? You should resign. She stared at him. What? I'll pay your salary for the next 2 years. You'll never have to worry about money again. But you can't stay here. Sophia's voice trembled. Is this because I'm a problem? No. Then why? Ethan took a deep breath. Because I'd rather lose you than see you get hurt. Sophia stood there in silence. She finally understood. He wasn't pushing her away because he didn't care. He was doing it because he cared too much. Without saying another word, she quietly walked out of the office. Ethan watched the door close. For the first time in years, the strongest man in the city felt completely helpless. A secret recording. Outside the building, Sophia sat alone on a bench, wiping away her tears. Just then, an elderly security guard approached her. Miss Parker, I think you should have this. He handed her a small USB drive. What is it? I found it in the parking garage after the attack. It may explain everything. Sophia looked at the tiny device in her hand. She had no idea that the video inside would expose a shocking conspiracy involving Richard Hale, and someone much closer to Ethan than either of them could have imagined. The secret inside the USB drive. Rain poured outside as Sophia sat alone in her apartment. The small USB drive rested in her hand. She kept staring at it. What could be so important? She whispered. Her younger brother, Daniel, walked into the room. You're still thinking about Mr. King, aren't you? Sophia forced a smile. I'm not. Daniel chuckled. You've said his name 10 times since you got home. Sophia rolled her eyes. Just plug in the USB. Daniel connected it to his laptop. A single video file appeared. Parking_garage_cctv.mp4. Sophia clicked play. The shocking recording. The security footage began a few minutes before the attack. She watched herself walking toward her car. Then the 3 masked men appeared. Everything happened exactly as she remembered. But suddenly, the camera switched to another angle. A black luxury car was parked near the exit. The driver's window rolled down. Sophia leaned closer to the screen. Her heart nearly stopped. The man inside the car was Richard Hale. But he wasn't alone. Another man stepped into the frame. He was wearing a gray suit and sunglasses. When he removed his glasses, Sophia gasped. No! It can't be! Daniel looked at the screen. Do you know him? Sophia nodded slowly. I've seen him before. He works for Ethan. The man in the video was Michael Grant, King Corporation's chief financial officer, one of Ethan's most trusted executives. A dangerous truth. The recording clearly captured their conversation. Richard smiled. Everything is going according to plan. Michael replied, Ethan trusts me completely. I'll keep feeding him false information. Once King Corporation collapses, we'll split everything. Richard laughed. And what about the girl? Michael's smile disappeared. If she learns too much, get rid of her. Sophia froze. Daniel looked at her. You have to tell Ethan. She nodded. I'll go right now. The betrayal. Sophia rushed to King Corporation. It was almost midnight. Most employees had already gone home. Only the lights in Ethan's office were still on. She ran inside. Ethan! He looked up in surprise. Sophia, I know who the traitor is. She handed him the USB drive. Ethan watched the recording without saying a word. As the video ended, he closed his eyes. Michael Grant, his closest advisor for 7 years. The man he had trusted like family. I can't believe it, Ethan whispered. Sophia placed a hand on his shoulder. I'm sorry. Ethan looked at her. No, I'm sorry. If I had discovered this sooner, none of this would have happened. The trap. The next morning, Ethan acted as if nothing had changed. He called an emergency board meeting. Michael entered confidently. Good morning, Mr. King. Ethan smiled. Good morning, Michael. Sophia noticed something different. Ethan's smile wasn't real. Halfway through the meeting, Ethan connected his laptop to the large screen. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like everyone to watch something. The CCTV footage began playing. Michael's smile slowly disappeared. The room fell silent. Richard's face appeared. Then Michael's confession echoed through the speakers. Ethan trusts me completely. We'll split everything. Get rid of the girl. Every director stared at Michael in disbelief. His face turned white. The escape. Michael suddenly pushed his chair back. I'm leaving. Security guards blocked the door. Ethan stood up. It's over. Michael laughed nervously. You think you've won? Without warning, he smashed a glass vase onto the floor. The loud crash distracted everyone. Smoke bombs rolled across the meeting room. Within seconds, the entire room filled with thick smoke. People screamed. When the smoke cleared, Michael was gone. Sophia looked around. He's escaped. Ethan's phone rang immediately. It was the police. Mr. King, we've tracked Richard Hale. He's heading toward the old Riverside warehouse. Ethan grabbed his car keys. This ends today. A kidnapping. But before Ethan could leave, his assistant rushed into the office. Sir, Sophia's brother has been kidnapped. Sophia's face turned pale. What? The assistant handed her a phone. An unfamiliar voice spoke. If you want Daniel alive, bring the USB drive to Riverside warehouse. No police. The call ended. Sophia's hands began to shake. They have Daniel. Ethan looked into her frightened eyes. Then he made a promise. I couldn't protect your father years ago. But this time, I'm bringing your brother home. No matter what it costs. He picked up the USB drive, loaded his car, and drove toward the warehouse, completely unaware that Richard Hale had prepared one final trap. The trap at Riverside warehouse. The rain fell harder as Ethan's black SUV sped through the empty streets. Sophia sat beside him, clutching her phone with trembling hands. Neither of them spoke. The only sound inside the car was the heavy rain hitting the windshield. After several minutes, Sophia finally broke the silence. Ethan, if anything happens tonight, I'll never forgive myself. Ethan kept his eyes on the road. Nothing is going to happen. I gave you my word. She looked at him. You can't promise that. He smiled faintly. I never break a promise. For the first time, Sophia realized how much she trusted him. The warehouse, Riverside warehouse, stood abandoned at the edge of the city. Broken windows, rusted steel doors, complete silence. Ethan parked the SUV. He turned toward Sophia. You stay here. She immediately shook her head. No, it's too dangerous. So is leaving you alone. Before Ethan could argue, the warehouse doors slowly opened. A loud voice echoed from inside. Bring the USB. And come in. Sophia and Ethan exchanged a glance. Then, they walked inside together. Richard Hale's game. The warehouse lights suddenly switched on. Richard Hale stood on a raised platform, smiling. Beside him, Daniel was tied to a chair. His mouth was covered with tape. Sophia cried out, Daniel! Richard laughed. Family really is a weakness. Ethan stepped forward. You wanted the USB. It's here. He held it up. Richard smiled. Throw it. Ethan tossed the USB drive across the floor. One of Richard's men picked it up and handed it to him. Richard crushed it beneath his boot. There. No more evidence. Ethan remained calm. Now release the boy. Richard burst into laughter. You still believe I keep my promises? The truth about the past. Richard slowly walked toward Ethan. You've been asking why I hate you. I'll tell you. 25 years ago, our fathers built King Industries together. Ethan frowned. What are you talking about? My father owned half the company, but your father tricked him into signing fake documents. He lost everything. A year later, he took his own life. The warehouse fell silent. Ethan stared at Richard. I never knew. Richard's eyes burned with anger. Of course you didn't. You inherited the empire. I inherited revenge. Sophia watched both men. For the first time, she realized this wasn't just about business. It was about decades of hatred. The hidden plan. Richard smiled. You really thought I wanted the USB? Ethan narrowed his eyes. What do you mean? Richard snapped his fingers. Large monitors hanging from the warehouse ceiling suddenly turned on. Live news broadcasts appeared. Breaking news. King Corporation stock crashes after massive data leak. Richard laughed proudly. While you were busy chasing me, my hackers emptied your servers. Your investors are leaving. Your company is collapsing. Sophia looked at Ethan. His face remained calm. Richard couldn't understand. Why aren't you angry? Ethan smiled. Because I expected this. Richard's smile disappeared. What? At that moment, police sirens echoed outside the warehouse. Then, dozens of officers stormed the building. Richard's expression changed instantly. This wasn't supposed to happen. Ethan looked at him calmly. The USB you destroyed was only a copy. The real evidence has already been delivered to the police. Richard realized he had been outsmarted. One last chance. Cornered by the police. Richard grabbed Daniel and pulled him close. He pointed a gun toward him. Everyone stay back. Sophia screamed. Please don't hurt him. Richard looked at Ethan. You have one choice. Drop your gun. And let me escape. Ethan slowly placed his weapon on the floor. The police officers looked shocked. Ethan! Richard smiled. I knew you'd choose them over yourself. As he backed toward the exit, Daniel suddenly stamped on Richard's foot. Richard lost his balance. The gun slipped from his hand. A loud shot echoed through the warehouse. Bang! Sophia screamed. Ethan! Ethan had pushed Daniel out of the way, but the bullet struck Ethan in the shoulder. He fell to one knee. The police immediately tackled Richard to the ground. It's over! Handcuffs clicked shut around Richard's wrists. His 20-year plan for revenge had finally ended. A confession in the rain. Outside the warehouse, an ambulance arrived. Paramedics treated Ethan's wound. Sophia stood beside him, crying, You idiot! You got shot because of us. Ethan smiled weakly. Worth it. She looked at him through her tears. Why? You could have died. Ethan reached for her hand. His voice was barely above a whisper. Because I love you, Sophia. I've tried to hide it. I've tried to push you away. But I can't pretend anymore. The world around them seemed to disappear. The rain, the sirens, the crowd. None of it mattered. Sophia's tears fell even faster. She gently held his hand. Ethan, I don't hate you anymore. I fell in love with you long before I realized it. Ethan smiled. For the first time since they met, it wasn't the smile of a billionaire. It was the smile of a man who had finally found happiness. Just then, the ambulance doors closed. As the vehicle drove away toward the hospital, neither Ethan nor Sophia knew that the biggest secret of all was still waiting to be revealed. The truth buried for 25 years. The ambulance raced through the rain. Sophia sat beside Ethan, tightly holding his hand. The monitors beeped steadily. Ethan's shoulder was bleeding, but he never complained. He only looked at Sophia. I'm okay. Sophia shook her head. No, you always say that. And every time, you end up risking your life. Ethan smiled weakly. If I'd have to choose again, I'd still protect you. Sophia lowered her head. A tear rolled down her cheek. For the first time, she didn't hide her feelings. She leaned forward and gently hugged him. I don't want to lose you. Ethan closed his eyes. Neither of them noticed the small smile on the nurse's face. Good news. Several hours later, the doctor walked into the waiting room. The surgery was successful. The bullet missed the vital organs. He'll make a full recovery. Sophia let out a deep breath. Thank God. Daniel hugged his sister. I told you he'd be okay. Just then, a luxury car stopped outside the hospital. An elderly man stepped out with the help of a cane. Everyone in the lobby recognized him immediately. William King, founder of King Corporation, and Ethan's grandfather. Sophia had never met him before. He slowly walked into Ethan's room. When he saw Ethan awake, his eyes filled with tears. You foolish boy. You almost gave your life away. Ethan smiled. I learned that from you, Grandpa. The old man laughed softly. Then he turned toward Sophia. So, you're the young woman who changed my grandson. Sophia blushed. I didn't change him. William smiled knowingly. No, you reminded him who he really was. The locked box. Later that afternoon, William asked Ethan to meet him in his private study at the King Mansion. The room was filled with old books and family photographs. William opened a large wooden safe. From inside, he removed a small locked metal box. I've kept this hidden for 25 years. Ethan frowned. What is it? A promise. William handed him a key. It's time you learn the truth. Ethan slowly unlocked the box. Inside were old letters, business contracts, a faded photograph, and one sealed envelope. On the front, someone had written, For Ethan, when the time is right. A father's letter. With trembling hands, Ethan opened the envelope. It was written by his late father. My dear son, if you're reading this, it means I've been gone for many years. There is something you deserve to know. Richard Hale's father was never betrayed by me. He discovered that members of our board were stealing millions from the company. Before he could expose them, they forged documents to make it appear that I had stolen his shares. He believed the lies. We became enemies. By the time I discovered the truth, it was too late. I have spent the rest of my life searching for the people truly responsible. If you ever uncover this letter, finish what I couldn't. Clear both our family names. Don't choose revenge. Choose justice. And remember, a person's greatest success isn't measured by wealth, but by the lives they protect. Ethan's hands trembled. His father had been innocent all along. The real mastermind. William sighed deeply. I wanted to tell you years ago, but I had no proof. Ethan looked up. Who forged the documents? William pointed toward one final file inside the box. The last surviving board member. Ethan opened it. His eyes widened. No! It can't be! The photograph showed someone he knew. Someone he had trusted for years. Senator Charles Donovan. A respected politician. A close family friend. And one of King Corporation's oldest legal advisors. William nodded slowly. He wasn't just helping the company. He was controlling it from the shadows. For 25 years. Another trap. At that very moment, Sophia was leaving the hospital to buy coffee. A black sedan quietly stopped beside her. The rear window rolled down. A familiar voice spoke. Miss Parker. She turned. A well-dressed older man smiled politely. I'm Charles Donovan. I believe we need to talk. Sophia hesitated. I don't know you. You don't. But I know everything about you. He handed her a sealed envelope. Read this before you judge me. Then the car drove away. Confused, Sophia opened the envelope. Inside was a photograph. It showed her late father, standing beside Ethan's father. Both men were smiling. Best friends. Sophia's breathing stopped. What? This isn't possible. On the back of the photograph were 6 handwritten words. They died protecting the same truth. Sophia stared at the message. Everything she believed about the past, everything she believed about Ethan, was about to change forever. The final truth. 3 days later, Ethan was discharged from the hospital. Although the doctor had advised him to rest for at least 2 weeks, Ethan had no intention of slowing down. There was still one mystery left, and he wasn't going to stop until he uncovered the truth. The mysterious photograph. That evening, Sophia walked into Ethan's office carrying the old photograph Charles Donovan had given her. Without saying a word, she placed it on his desk. Ethan picked it up. His eyes widened. The picture showed 2 young men standing shoulder to shoulder, smiling proudly. One was Ethan's father. The other was Sophia's father. They knew each other, Ethan whispered. Sophia nodded. They weren't enemies. They were friends. William King slowly entered the room. When he saw the photograph, he closed his eyes. I've been looking for that picture for 25 years. Ethan looked at his grandfather. You've seen this before? William sighed. Yes. Your fathers were trying to expose corruption inside King Corporation. But before they could reveal the evidence, they were silenced. Sophia felt a chill run down her spine. My father never told me. He couldn't, William replied. He was protecting your family. The secret safe. William led Ethan and Sophia into a hidden room beneath the old King mansion. Behind a large bookshelf was a steel vault. William entered a 6-digit code. The heavy door slowly opened. Inside was a dusty safe that had remained untouched for decades. Ethan carefully opened it. There were stacks of old financial records, handwritten journals, and several videotapes. One envelope was marked in bold letters. Evidence against Charles Donovan. Ethan opened it. Every document pointed to the same truth. Charles Donovan had secretly controlled corrupt executives for years, manipulating business deals, destroying honest partners, and framing innocent people. Richard Hale's father had been one of his victims. So had Ethan's father. So had Sophia's father. The conspiracy had destroyed countless lives. A dangerous invitation. Just as they finished reading the files, Ethan's phone rang. It was Charles Donovan. His voice was calm. I know you found the documents. Ethan replied coldly. It's over. Charles laughed. Not yet. If you want the full truth, come to the old courthouse tonight. Come alone. The line went dead. Sophia immediately stepped forward. You're not going. It's a trap. Ethan nodded. I know. But if I don't go, he'll disappear forever. The courthouse. That night, the abandoned courthouse stood in complete darkness. Ethan walked inside. Charles Donovan was waiting. He looked calm, almost relaxed. I've been expecting you. Ethan stared at him. You ruined countless families. Charles smiled. I didn't ruin them. I used them. You think the world is built on honesty? No. It's built on power. Ethan took another step forward. My father trusted you. Charles shrugged. And that was his biggest mistake. The final evidence. Suddenly, the courtroom lights turned on. Police officers surrounded the building. Detective Harris walked inside. It's over, Charles. Charles laughed. You have no proof. Ethan smiled. I do. He held up a small flash drive. The videotapes from my father's safe have already been digitized. They contain your confession from 25 years ago. Charles's confident smile disappeared. You planned this. Ethan nodded. You taught me to think 3 steps ahead. The police placed Charles under arrest. As he was being led away, he looked back at Ethan. You may have won today, but you'll never get back the years you lost. Ethan answered quietly. No, but I can make sure no one else loses theirs. Charles lowered his head. For the first time, he had no words. A new beginning. Weeks later, King Corporation announced major reforms. Every employee who had lost a job because of corruption received compensation. The closed factory where Sophia's father had worked reopened under a new management team. Many former workers returned. Sophia stood outside the factory gates. She smiled through tears. My father would have loved to see this. Ethan gently took her hand. He'd be proud of you. The proposal. 1 month later, Ethan invited Sophia to the rooftop where they had shared their first honest conversation. The city lights sparkled beneath them. He reached into his pocket. Sophia smiled. You're nervous. Ethan laughed. I've negotiated billion-dollar deals, but this is much harder. He knelt on one knee. Holding a small velvet box, he said, Sophia Parker. When we first met, you hated me. I don't blame you, but you gave me something money could never buy. You gave me a second chance. He opened the ring box. Will you marry me? Sophia's eyes filled with tears. She nodded before she could even speak. Yes. 1,000 times, yes. Ethan slipped the ring onto her finger. As fireworks lit up the night sky, everyone around them applauded. William King smiled proudly. Daniel wiped away a tear. The journey that had begun with hatred ended with trust. The story that had started with pain ended with hope. And the billionaire who believed love was a weakness finally discovered that true love was the greatest strength of all. The end. Red Heart.